Protein of the plant-based variety. Brief tangent, 3 seconds in. The embrace of the phrase plant-based amongst vegans, unexpected. 10 years ago, plant-based was like a derogatory thing that vegans said about other vegans who weren't really committed to the lifestyle. She's not really vegan. She's just plant-based. Vegan on vegan crime. The times seem to be changing about the phrase plant-based, and also I'm normal. I don't care. Anyone who wants to eat more plant-based protein, I welcome you to the fold. Whether you are a vegan in your gains maxing era or an omnivore who would like to try something new, the plant-based protein universe is plentiful, and we are going to explore it together. Now, what are my credentials? I'm glad you asked. I would like to once again exclaim that I am not a dietitian. I am just some guy. I'm not here to tell you how much protein you should be eating. That varies pretty widely based on who you are and what you get up to. I am going to be giving some numeric examples, but those are not recommendations by the gram for you personally. That is just context for people who may find it to be useful. Also, we're doing so well here with no one being annoying. If you start arguing about amino acids in the comments of my little protein video, we're going to have a problem. Don't do that. All right, what exactly constitutes a plant-based protein? I kind of think about this in a very omnivorous sort of way. I like my meals to have one sort of main overt protein, something that has 20 plus grams for that chunk of the meal. There are a lot of plant-based foods that you will hear people call protein sources, like broccoli, quinoa, peanut butter, which is true enough. Those things do have some protein, but in terms of having that one main protein as your protein of the meal, they don't fit the bill for that. I like those foods and I eat them in addition to my main proteins, but they are in themselves not a main protein. I fear the quantity of broccoli I'd need to eat if I was trying to get 20 grams of protein out of that and what it would do to my insides. So the foods I use as Silva. So the foods I use as my main star of the show proteins are seitan, tempeh, tofu, legumes, fake meat, and protein powder. And I am going to take you on a tour through each of them, look at some meals you can make with all of them, see where they shine the brightest. It's going to be great. Seitan. Seitan is wheat meat. It is made out of the gluten from flour. On every single seitan recipe, you will find a comment of someone asking if you can make it gluten-free. It is gluten. Gluten is the ingredient. I'm so sorry. How do you get gluten? You can literally wash a bag of flour with water until just the gluten is left. I am not even doing that. You can buy bags of wheat gluten on the internet, pre-separated for your convenience, and you can use it to make seitan. You can also just buy seitan. I do both, and I will show you both. Seitan has a texture that I would call meaty and spongy at the same time. It has a really satisfying chew about it that I associate with meat, and I think it is a really good starter plant-based protein if you're new to them because it is so meat-like. And it is good in a number of contexts. You can make it super shreddy, so wherever you'd be doing like shreddy chicken or brisket, it'd be great in that recipe. It crisps up so nicely without much treatment, so you can do that and slather in sauce. And it is also great in any sort of soup, stew, curry, because it soaks up all those flavors in its weird little spongy form. So let's make some. You will notice that making seitan is eerily similar to making bread, and that is because it is basically meat bread. Also, ordinarily, I would be making a whole log of seitan, but I've like fived the recipe because I have a lot of plant-based protein to make. So feel free to multiply for meal prep purposes if you so desire. All right, a serving of wheat gluten, 1/4 cup, is 24 grams of protein. And your basic making seitan ratio is 1:1 gluten to broth. You can just mix them together like that and stop, or you can, of course, season additionally. You could add fennel, make it sausagey. You could add poultry seasoning, make it chickeny. You could add nutritional yeast or soy sauce because they taste good. Once you have whatever things in your meat dough ball that you want, you gotta knead it like bread for like 5 minutes, if not more. Otherwise, you'll have an extremely thick blob of gluten. You want to knead it until you see those gluteny strands. And that becomes the meat-like texture of the seitan. Once you're done kneading, you have a few options. You can boil it, you can steam it, you can pan fry it, you can bake it. Each of them will give it a different sort of moisture and texture experience, so you just need to play around and see what you like. There's no one exact correct way to cook seitan. Today, I baked mine, because when you boil it, you gotta use a cheesecloth, and I think when you pull out a cheesecloth, people immediately give up on your recipe video. If you bake it, you will notice your seitan rise in the oven in the manner of bread. And then it comes back down, and you'll know it's done when you have a nice little golden crust. You could eat this as is. You could give it a little sear in the pan. You can toss it in sauce. You can marinate it and eat it tomorrow. I gave it a little sear in the pan with some salt and pepper and had it with cabbage and kale and couscous and sauce. Okay, let's say you don't want to bake bread into meat. That's fine. You can buy seitan at the store. There are many brands, but if you are in these here United States, I implore you, you have to go to blackbirdfoods.com. Go to the store locator and find their seitan. It is the best by an enormous margin. There's a restaurant near me called Triangle Tavern. Philadelphia mentioned. They make buffalo wings with the Blackbird seitan, and I have a number of meat-eating friends who order those instead because they think they taste better. You can also order 8 pounds of seitan from the Blackbird website, and you won't regret it. And you can get these cute little 8-ounce packs at the store. They come with 3 servings at 17 grams of protein each, but I just make half the pack. 25 grams of protein for me. It is good all those ways I described it earlier, but my favorite way is just to season it, air fry it, toss it in sauce. Quick, easy, crispy. I put it in there for like 8 minutes and it comes out perfect. You don't have to do anything. And I am once again having it with cabbage and couscous. Please excuse the lack of variety in this video. I'm making like 10 different things and that's a lot of groceries. That's seitan. And now we carry on in our journey to tempeh. Tempeh, like tofu, is a soy product, but it is very, very different from tofu. It's made from fermented soybeans and it's much firmer. It's not spongy like tofu. You can see the whole beans in the fresh block. It has a nice sort of earthy, nutty smell to it. And if you see mold on your tempeh, have no fear. You can eat that. That's part of the tempeh experience. I usually get the Light Life brand and half this block is 22 grams of protein. As far as how to use it, tempeh is different from seitan in that I don't use it as a meat replacement. It's very much its own thing. To my knowledge, there is no analogous animal product for fermented bean slab. Even the Light Life smoky tempeh bacon, which I eat straight out of the pack because I like it so much, that bears no textural similarities to bacon whatsoever. Tempeh is a really dense food. It doesn't absorb marinade like tofu or seitan. So when I use it, I want it to be in a meal where the actual nutty flavor of the tempeh is part of the meal, not something I'm trying to cover up. And you can add more flavor with a glaze or a crust or a sear in the pan. For my simplicity enjoyers, tempeh is quite good pan fried with salt and pepper. But I like to add sauce and make things in novel shapes. And it's my protein video, so let's do that. 2 ways. All right, I'm going to take half this block and I'm going to cut it into little tempeh steaks. And I'm going to make a little spicy mustardy maple glaze for them. You can let them sit in the glaze for a while to marinate if you really want to. I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think it penetrates the tempeh. So I just toss my little tempeh steaks in my sauce. I bake them. Halfway through the baking, add a little more sauce. At the end, add a smidge more. And if you want, you can even throw them in the pan for a nice little crusty sear after that. And I'm having my little tempehs with broccoli and potatoes. Next, tempeh crumbles up very easily because it really is just a bunch of beans molded together. So you can use your hands and make it into these tasty little chunks. Appetizing. I like to season these little chunks and then just air fry them into oblivion. Make them so little and so crispy. And then toss them in a sauce and put it on top of rice. In today's sauce, we've got tahini, soy sauce, rice vinegar, brown sugar, ginger, garlic, chili crisp. Served with rice and broccoli. That's tempeh. I feel like she is the most underappreciated plant-based protein. So do not fear her. She is not unapproachable. She's not weird. She's just different. Tofu. Tofu, our white, spongy friend, is a soybean curd. It comes in a variety of firmnesses, from extra firm, which is dense but not as dense as tempeh, all the way down to silken, which is practically tofu jello. There are so many things you can do with it. I think tofu is the most versatile plant-based protein. It's good crispy in a sauce. It's good soft in a stew. You can use silken tofu in sauce or in sweet foods. You can manipulate the water content, change its texture. You can turn it into eggs. Tofu is a magical food. We can't get through all of tofu in this video. We didn't even get through all of tofu in my dedicated tofu video. But I'm going to give you a basic starter tofu preparation and send you off from there. There are many ways to prep tofu, and many opinions about which is best. You can freeze and microwave it, you can boil it, you can press it, you can do all of the above. All of these are to get water out of the tofu so that you can get marinade in. You'll also see people saying you don't even need to be doing all that. You can just eat tofu raw out of the pack. You can just pan fry little strips of it and it's good like that. And I think that's not wrong, but I think the extra step is worth it in terms of what it does for tofu texturally. And my favorite extra step is to freeze and microwave. So half this pack of extra firm tofu is 20 grams of protein. You're going to cut it or crumble it into the shape you want to eat it. And then you're going to freeze it. You'll know when it's done when it looks like a big yellow ice cube. From there, you will microwave it in minute-long increments and dump the water out as you go. At the end, you will have still spongy but firmer pieces of tofu. It is now perfect for marinating. It is now perfect for crisping. Dust it in cornstarch and salt and pepper and throw it in the air fryer, which is what I did. And then I tossed it in some sauce. I made a little orange chicken style sauce, which is basically the same as that last tempeh sauce, except also there is orange juice in it and no tahini. And then I had it with more broccoli and rice. I do fear the bodybuilders were onto something with chicken, broccoli, and rice. So that is one base preparation of tofu that you can use to branch off to do many more things with your tofu. Like tempeh, tofu is not so much a meat replacement as it is its own thing. And that little mindset shift from trying to use tofu to imitate meat to trying to appreciate tofu's own attributes, that can open up a whole world of tofu for you. Next up, legumes. We're here. We've made it. To beans and lentils and chickpeas. Another misunderstood food group. I feel like when people are like, where do you get your protein? With beans? They say it with such disgust in their voice. What did beans ever do to you? Before we get into our legumes, I must speak to my Rancho Gordo heads out there. I agree that ordering fancy dried beans on the internet and spending all day simmering them in a pot produces infinitely better beans than buying them in the can. You're correct. I just don't think most people are going to do that. At least not if they are new to beans. So I'm going to talk about making canned beans taste good. But if you want to comment that I'm wrong and everyone should order Rancho Gordo, you can do that. I agree with you. I'm just being practical. Okay, let's go through some legume varieties and talk about things to make with them. Starting with lentils, the cutest little way to eat a lot of fiber. There are a multitude of colors of lentil, but we can break them into two categories, shell and no shell. The ones with the shell are the darker ones, green, brown, black lentils, and they have a firmer texture due to the fact that they have a shell. So they hold their shape when you cook them. Whereas red lentils, no shell. They turn into soft lentil mush when you cook them. Lentils also vary in flavor based on the color, but they do broadly have that nutty, earthy taste about them. And after that whole spiel about not buying dried beans, I do have dried red lentils. You can really only get dried red lentils because they turn into mush when you add water to them. So I just keep a bag on hand, and if I'm making a soup, if I'm making a stew, I will often just throw a little bit in. Anything in the slop category, red lentils can be an addition, for protein and for flavor. But today I've made them the star of the show. We've got a little red lentil doll. They soak up the flavor of whatever you cook them in. So this is with curry paste, coconut milk, a little better than bouillon, and a shallot. One of the best types of slop, if you ask me. For our lentils with the shell, they are also good in the slop formats. They make an excellent hearty base for a soup. But I would just like to say, for these hot summer months, you should try cold lentils in a salad. I made this one with couscous, vegan feta, jalapeno, a shallot, and basil, and a quickie little maple mustard vinaigrette. You can also get dried lentils with the shell and boil them, and then make them cold afterwards. But I wanted them to start out as cold, so I just got a can. And I drained them, and I rinsed them, and I mixed in a little spoonful of better than bouillon first. If you're unsure about beans, lentils are a great place to start, because it is a similar inside texture, but tiny. Chickpeas. I sure hope she does. Whoever made that TikTok, I think of you often. To me, the ultimate way to eat a chickpea is to crisp it up. All you have to do is take a can of chickpeas, drain them, rinse them. Either marinate them at this point. I just use this little chili lime packet that I got at the store and thought looked good. I also love harissa as a chickpea marinade. Or you can just take them straight out like this, add a little oil and salt and pepper. Whatever you do, take your chickpeas and air fry them for 15 minutes on 400. They will emerge extremely crispy, like a little bean snack. I love them in a big salad, filling the roll of crouton. Here they are in one, with some cabbage and kale, and a Gardein chicken patty, and a mountain of salad toppings. Now, if you have found yourself at sort of an advanced stage of veganism, you can save the liquid from the chickpea can instead of pouring it down the drain. That stuff is called aquafaba, and it can be used in baking where you would use egg whites. You can also make mayonnaise with it. I do not understand how this works scientifically, but I've seen it with my own two eyes, and that's really fun to play around with if you are someone who likes to bake. And finally, our last legume, the star of the category, beans. General rule. One thing you always want to do with beans is drain and rinse your beans. If you find that they make you gassy, this will help. That also gets better with time as you get used to eating more fiber. My early vegan days were unique in the digestion department. That's normal. Now, where are beans good? In so many places. I do like them best in a slop context. Something where you can mix the beans with other stuff or beans with other beans. So you get a fun textural experience. Chili, jambalaya, gumbo, Rice and beans. Rice and beans is so good. There's a reason it's been a staple for thousands of years. So let's make it. And I'm doing the lazy girl option because it's always an option. You can buy stuff in a packet. You can buy stuff in a box. It's fine. So I've got a serving of the Near East Spanish rice. I have these black beans from the brand A Dozen Cousins. And I just heated them up together on the stove and added some spicy Beyond sausage and kale. And that's a meal right there, if you ask me. If you have beans in the can and you want to make them that way, drain them, rinse them, put them on the stove with a little olive oil, a little broth, some aromatics. You want them to be kind of soupy without being watery. And if I'm planning to have beans all week but want to make them fresh, I will drain and rinse the cans, put my clean beans in Tupperware, and then scoop them out and cook with them as the moment calls for it. That way you don't got to keep messing with the can and putting a tiny sliver of saran wrap over it. That's very annoying to do. So I would start there. Beans and slop, beans and chili, beans and rice. Make them soupy and flavorful. Give them love. There are so many beans to try. And so many ways to try them. I think that they might merit their own video, honestly. But let's start there. Make some beans and rice. And then get back to me. Next up, fake meat. This is not a recipe. This is not a recommendation. This is a rant. And I've suckered you into listening to it by placing it this deep into the video. There's no turning back now. I feel like I've seen the sentiment for my whole decade of veganism that fake meat is starter veg food. You can have it when you first transition and you miss eating meat. But more advanced vegans and vegetarians prefer whole food, plant-based sources of protein. Wrong. I love fake meat. Sometimes I want to eat a meal that celebrates a whole food, plant-based source of protein. And sometimes I want a Gardein spicy chicken patty in a chicken Caesar salad. Porque no los dos. This idea very quickly becomes one of the most annoying Instagram comments. It's on like every vegan recipe and it goes, "Why are you trying to make it look like chicken if you don't like chicken? I thought you didn't eat chicken. Why are you calling it chicken?" Shut up. Don't be stupid. You know why. You're just being annoying. Gardein Hive, rise up. A serving of fake meat as your protein in a meal is a perfectly fine thing to do. I do it all the time. And I haven't eaten meat since I was a teenager and I am 30. Okay, sorry about that. That's done. Protein powder. The sweet treat of the protein video. This is also just kind of a rant, but I will make a food for you as well. There are lots of vegan protein powders now. The times have changed. There's soy, pea, rice, hemp, flavored, unflavored, sweetened, unsweetened. It is just a matter of finding the one you like, which is very preference dependent. These days I've been buying the Sprouts chocolate protein after switching from the Orgain chocolate, which I liked better, but it was twice as expensive per serving and I eat a lot of it, so we gotta do what we gotta do. I miss her though. Okay, the ranch. My fellow vegans, I love you all, I really do. But sometimes I think people try to overcompensate for the amount of people who act like we're all protein deficient and dying by refusing to supplement to show you can get everything you need through whole food, plant-based sources alone. Now, can a thoughtful vegan diet give you all the protein you need? Sure, but does it need to? Have you lost a nutrition argument by supplementing? Do the omnivores win when you get 20 more grams of protein from chocolate powder? I don't think so. This applies across the board, but especially if you have like a high athletic related protein goal. It's hard to eat that much food. Your gains do not count less if some of them come from powder. I think having a variety of protein sources is a good goal. You shouldn't sustain entirely on protein powder, but I don't think anyone's doing that. It's a supplement. Supplement with it if you so desire. There's no need to be a martyr. Now for your recipe. I am one of those people who likes to make those little protein sweet treats. I know. I will say that you do not need to like protein max every single thing you eat. If you just want to have a sweet treat at the end of the day with no protein powder, you are free to do so. I do, however, have a high athletic related protein target. This is a thing that helps me hit it. We have the Ninja Creamy at home sweet treat, except we don't have the Ninja Creamy. We have our arms and we have a freezer, and that's going to have to be close enough. The base, yogurt, Greek yogurt, pudding. Take your pick. Kite Hill makes a non-dairy Greek yogurt, and I can currently only handle it in sauce format. I think Greek yogurt is so bad, and I really wish I liked it. So if you can handle that in a sweet treat, congrats on the additional 17 grams of protein. I'm jealous. I am using the Kite Hill Black Cherry Almond Yogurt. Mix in a scoop of your protein powder of choice to your base of choice. Add a little frozen fruit and add a sprinkle of salt. It gives it that slight, real sweet treat oomph. Once you've mixed all that up, throw it in the freezer for like 10 minutes and then mix it up again. And then you have a little protein treat. You can also add a little nut butter. You could add a little spoonful of jam. You don't have to do the additional freezing or the frozen fruit, but I find that it gives you the Ninja Creamy and experience without having to buy the Ninja Creamy. I may still buy it. I don't know. I've been thinking about it for like 2 years. Influence me. De-influence me. Tell me what to do. But yeah, that's our little end of day protein pudding. And that's everything. That's all I got for you. That's a bunch of different plant-based proteins and different ways to use them. If you have a favorite preparation, I would love to hear it. If you are interested in a dedicated video on beans, please let me know and I'll make that Rancho Gordo order. That's hard to say. But yeah, I hope you enjoy experimenting with all of these fun new foods and find ways to eat them that you enjoy, because that is what this is all about. Okay, bye.